Welcome back to the podcast, and today we're interviewing Yusuf.
It's not an interview.
We know Bugsy. We've heard about all these acronyms, but we want to go inside deep.
Pause.
No. Play. You know what I mean? Looking lovely. You're in our 2.5 Molly's non-merchandise. The emblem's not coming in.
Yeah, we didn't put the logos on it yet, but hopefully that's coming soon. We got a team of people working on our actual designs. Okay. Just like last week's episode, what did we talk about? SNL with the heart. Show niggas love 2025.
What do you guys think about that?
First of all, put that in the comments. What do you guys think about that? So for this segment, you know what I mean? We decided to go back and do the Mail the Molly. Mm-hmm. We have a few questions that some of you guys actually put down. Is it in our bio?
It's in our bio, yes.
For anybody that has any questions that they need answering, make sure that you guys go check out the Instagram and put your questions down below there. And yeah, we'll answer it. So I'll take us home.
All right. So we have some very interesting questions. Some of them I'm like, okay, this is very interesting. I didn't know people asked that. So they said, this is very interesting. This is a icebreaker type one. So one celebrity who you are not currently friends with will be soul bound to you for the rest of your life. There will be no obligation that you are you're romantic with them, right? Mm-hmm. Although you're allowed to, and you guys will never be able to be more than 20 feet away from each other. Who do you pick?
Okay.
Wow.
You want to start?
I'm just gonna say
can I have two answers, a guy and a girl?
Okay, go ahead.
If it's a guy, I'm going Dave Chappelle.
Okay.
I just feel like that guy's gonna continue to rip that, or R.I.P. Bernie Mac.
Bernie Mac. Okay.
I gotta be around Bernie Mac. You know what I mean? Or hot take, I might go Joe Rogan. I feel like Joe Rogan. I'm not gonna lie to you, I feel like he has some interesting stories. Yeah. You know what I mean? His life experience. I watch a lot of his podcasts. Not a lot, but I watch a couple of his podcasts. You can't have
someone who's awkward. You have to have someone.
You think he's awkward?
No, I'm just saying in general. Like answering this question, you have to have someone who
is a good conversationalist.
Who you could feel like you're gonna be okay with. You know what I mean? Man, 20 feet at all times. I'd say Kevin Hart because he's mobile. You know, he can pack him up. He can pack him up.
Put him in a pocket, huh? Why are we okay? Let's try to name like non-comedians because right now we have a lot of comedians. So, what do you think?
What I would say is,
I would say, I'm trying to think of like my old celebrity crushes that I'd want to be 20 feet.
Just be honest, Miley Cyrus.
I was not a Snow Bunny's never. Snow Bunny's never.
Black Queens forever. Snow Bunny's never.
Black Queens forever. No, I would say Hillary from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh.
I don't know what the actress's name is, but ever since I was a kid, I had a really big crush on her.
The next question is, this is just, if you had to pick an actor to portray you for a movie, what would you pick?
Actor portray me?
Yeah. Denzel, nigga.
Denzel? Wallahi, there's a lot of people you could pick. But I'm gonna go Michael B. Jordan. Actually, I take it back. I'm gonna say, what's that D's guy?
Jonathan Majors?
Jonathan Majors. That guy has some versatility. You get what I'm trying to say? He has a lot of emotion. He can evoke a lot of emotion. Not saying my life is emotional.
You gotta sing. You gotta be able to sing, though.
Why do you always bring up the same freaking dumb joke, bro? Anyways.
Yeah, but so Jonathan Majors, huh?
Jonathan Majors. He has range. He has range.
I'm just gonna say that guy from Snowfall. That's a good one?
Yeah. What's his name? Damson something? Damson.
Damien or something?
No, it's Damson something. I forgot what his last name is. Or maybe his last name is Damson, but yeah, that guy's a good actor too.
Yeah, this is a funny
Give us
question.
one more, man. I like these ones though.
Can we get a male perspective on pressure to be married, difficulty meeting people, or even personality characteristics y'all find attractive? You know
I don't know about that last one. What I find attractive? We'll go step by step. So we'll start off with the first one. You were talking about the men's perspective on
the pressure of getting
married.
I think women get more pressure, but niggas get pressures too, man. They say you're pushing 30, man. What's going on? As a girl gets older and older, like society pressures them more. Like, yo, what's wrong with you guys?
Can I make a good point though? Yeah. I feel like when it comes to parents pressuring their kids, yes, I feel like a woman experiences a lot more pressure from their parents, whereas individually, again, this is up for debate, but also from a guy's, if you're thinking about it from more of a guy's perspective, once you push a certain age, you start to, really want to jump out of the nest, you know, like a little bird. You know what I mean? You want to experience living by yourself. You want to do like a lot of the times you want to start to be independent. I think like once you get to like 20, 21, you know,
Yeah.
for a lot of people. So I would say with parent, I would say both sides. I would say it's women, but then at the same from a male's perspective,
Yeah,
a
they
lot.
talk about
It's a
males.
lot of
What's-
self pressure. You know,
Uh,
you get what I'm trying to say? Like a lot of times you pressure yourself. Like, yo, I'm getting to a certain age. Like both of us are 25. You know what I mean? Newsflash, both of us are not married. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like, oh, you're saying no, I'm married, huh? No, but both of us are not married. So I would say, I would, you know, personally, the pressure to get married is high because at this point in time, it's like, yo, of course, just like everybody else, you know what I mean? I'm living at home, you know, with my family. But I'm perfectly able and perfectly capable of having my own family. So now the next step would be just to find the right person.
Man, you know what's crazy? You're right. I think women get pressure, but the amount of pressure, because they said male perspective, so all I could talk about is male perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the amount of pressure that we face is a lot because of the fact that for us to get married, the baseline, and I'm not saying this is not pushed. Technically speaking, it's not the right. Like obviously, the right thing to do is the most simplest of marriages. The like have a lot of blessings into it. All that we know that. We know what's the right answer. Right now, we're talking about what's happening in society. For a guy, the pressure is a lot of times is for a guy is you can't just get married. You have to have A, B, C, D. You have to have certain amount of money saved up. You have to have a certain amount of money being made every month. You know, some people say you have to have an education. It's not. Some people's requirements are you have to have an education. Some people, you know what I mean.
Could you say that for women there's a lot more pressure, but then for men there's a lot more expectation?
Yeah.
Could you say that?
Yeah. Well, for women, it's kind of hard because I feel like they're put into a bad position because like people would tell like their parents would be like never talk to a guy ever your whole life, and then the second they reach 22 they say, all right, when are you getting married? When are you getting married?
Or why
you
are you not married?
Huh?
What's going
why
on?
you're not married? And then every ed or every aunt is telling you what's wrong with you, bro. Talk to my son.
You know, and this is what I've heard from, you know what I mean, some people, myself, like from a girl's perspective, is once you get to a certain point, like women, a lot more older women will start to comment and be like, maybe you're not married because look at you, man, you need to lose some weight. You know what I mean? Or they comment on people. Like, I feel like they add, once you start to get a lot older, that pressure is building up. And I feel like people start to put their opinion on it. You know what I mean? Just say, yo, maybe lose some weight, put some more makeup, put yourself out there. You know what I mean? But I feel like a lot of time they're just spurting out things, but it's like, yo, they're not helping me. You know what I mean? That's another thing too. Because when we talk about marriage here in the Western world, a lot of our parents, you know what I mean, tell us like, why are you guys not getting married, or you should get married.
Yeah.
But it's like, what are you doing to help? First of all, a lot of people don't necessarily want their parents to help, but still, you know what I mean? The aspect of like, hey, I know this family over here, you know what I mean, that has a daughter who's willing to get married. You guys want to, you know what I mean, meet each other. I feel like for a lot of families, they don't necessarily experience that. Me, myself, I've never had a situation like that.
Hey, man.
Where my family came up to me and said, yo, you know what I mean?
No,
I'll
tell you one thing.
Is that how you say it?
It's Barta.
It's Barta.
You're doing amazing.
I'm trying.
But basically, I'll say one thing is that when it comes to this type of stuff, I look at it as it's the same as coming from an Islamic point of view. This is just at the end of the day, it comes from Allah. You know what I mean? All you gotta do is you make dua, you pray for it. You know what I mean? And then you put the right actions forward, right? So I would say one thing for most people is that don't count one avenue out as like, because that's especially when it comes to this field, it's when people say, like we were talking about this last episode, someone might say, I'm never meeting my spouse online. They'll just make a general rule like that. Or some people would say, I'm never going to meet my spouse for my parents. Yuck. Are you serious? My mom, you know what I mean? My mom, but I'll be honest with you, sometimes your mom knows some amazing people.
Absolutely.
Girls and guys.
Absolutely.
You'd be surprised. I was surprised. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Sometimes like sometimes family members know very good people. And sometimes it means something when a family, two families know each other. And then your mom already knows that family is very good. You know what I mean? That is like a huge thing crossed off that you already like, okay, this is at least that part of it's good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think in general, you never never generalize and say like, yo, this side of things, I'll never do it like this, or I would never I would never go to the imam or the masjid, or I would never go to a community leader and say something. You know what I mean? I think just being open-minded is good.
What was the second part though? My bad to cut you off.
Second part of the question?
Yeah.
The pressures of
We were talking about the pressures. There was another.
the male pressure of to be married, and then difficult meeting people. So the male pressure is because I'll be honest with you, is that sometimes it's a combination. For me, I see that it's a combination of people putting pressure on themselves. Sometimes it's the girl, like for example, us. Let's say we're marrying someone. Sometimes the girl's putting. So I think there's three issues. Sometimes men put unnecessary pressure. No, I gotta have at least 40 bands in my bank account before I do this, and lack of like trust in Allah, you know what I mean, type thing. Sometimes it's the girl putting more pressure on the guy, saying, because brother, I'll be honest with you, if you look at the cold hard facts, right? Cold hard facts, a guy who's 20 years old, you know what I mean, how much money earning potential this guy has, and how much money he could be saving. Sometimes some numbers don't make sense. It doesn't. If we're talking about what type of a man, for example, at 20 years old has $40,000 saved up in his bank account, it's very low.
A lot. No,
it's very low. So so if you want things to be done at a certain time, it needs to be either expectations are dropped a bit or more support from other angles, right?
Absolutely.
So and then the next part of the question is difficulty meeting people.
You want to start?
I would say difficulty meeting people, I think it started mainly, it was always there, but I feel like since for people outside of university, I feel like most people is just going to school going to work or school and going back home. And then COVID downplayed it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
COVID made people more like enclosed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? what you call it? Yeah. But listen, COVID feel like COVID made people way more homebodies. So I feel like, you know, I hear this is a coin term that people say a lot. We just need third spaces, man.
Third spaces?
You know what third space is?
Nah.
A third space is like people go to school, people go to home or work.
Yeah.
Right? School, work, home.
They need another
spot. Third space is a place where people link up.
Kick-off spot
To do something. For example, sometimes it's a church, sometimes it's a masjid, it's a third space. But then
masjid. Oh, you're just saying niggas to niggas and girls to girls.
Yeah, I'm saying. But then also, sometimes masjid has community events, stuff like that. Sometimes, you know what I'm trying to say, brother. There's a third space, brother. You get what I'm trying to say.
For me, like you kind of mentioned earlier about COVID, like it definitely messed up everybody's social dynamic. You know, people are not able to talk to each other, man to man, man to woman. Man to pet, you know what I mean? Every single social dynamic is messed up right now because of COVID, and you know a lot of people don't necessarily exercise having conversations, you know, and having engaging conversations. Because I could sit here, I am robot style, you know what I mean? Just listen to what you're saying, say one thing back, and then just be okay, have a good night, you know? Like small talk is on a what's the word?
It's art.
It's on a rise.
Yeah.
Whereas long, you know what I mean? In-depth, you know what I mean? Deep conversations are on a low. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Even my vocabulary right now, it's hard for me to speak. You know what I mean? But I'd say it's not just that. Also, it's like places to go, you know, kind of like you mentioned too. It's just hard for people to actually find. You know what, though? I'd say in other places, because we live in Ottawa, right? Like there's not a lot of places where people can, you know, run into each other other than like food spots. That's literally the only place we could catch each other. See somebody that might be, that number one looks good, you know what I mean? And we could conversate with. Another thing too is, man, I'll be honest with you.
Isn't it kind of weird though? Do you think it's weird?
What?
Like, do you think that approaching there is weird, or do you think that's like
approaching people?
Yeah. There's a question that says, why do Somali men just stare a lot and not do anything about it? That's another question that we have.
Why do men stare a lot?
Somali men specifically.
They got no game, bro. I'll be honest with you. Like, I don't know, the way, you know, I feel like I'm sounding like an old head right now. The game back in the days, you know what I mean? We used to be killing it back in the days. But now, they don't got that. They don't got that same one. Yeah, I feel like I'm wallow right now. Huh? Yeah, they don't got it like that. You don't got it like that. No, but for real, I feel like I kind of mentioned earlier, bro, test is on an all-time low. Test is on an all-time low. Guys are finding it hard, you know what I mean, to find the courage. Because this was always a problem. The fear of rejection has always been a problem for guys, you know what I mean? You know what's popular right now?
What?
Being a nonchalant guy.
Nonchalant.
How you doing?
Wow. My cousin told me on AIDS a lot.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me. I'm trying to be nonchalant.
You trying to be nonchalant? Brother, that's on an all-time high, brother. Too many kids are worried about how they're being... Okay, let me take it back. Too many men are worried about how they're gonna be perceived or looked at instead of just, you know what I mean? Being able to do it. And again, because of COVID, a lot of guys don't necessarily have that social skills to be able to go up to a girl and be like, hey, you know what I mean? I thought you were pretty. In a respectful way, no. The smallest thing you could probably do is go up to a girl and be like, hey, you know what I mean? My name is this. I seen you. You know what I mean? I thought you're pretty and I'd love to get to know you. Say something like that. Brother's humble. You'd give your number out.
Me? Let's do roleplay.
Pause!
The next part of the question is, they said, why do Somali men stare a lot and just not do anything and make us feel uncomfortable? I'm guessing this is coming from a Somali woman.
Why were you staring at the camera?
I'm practicing my Somali stare.
Yeah, but that's a problem. Well, now it's on a rise, man. This nonchalant business, man, about, like, I don't know. It's weird, man. I'm going on a side, you know what I mean? A side note, but what do you think about that?
I think staring with...
No, nonchalant guys,
Oh,
brother.
nonchalant.
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm nonchalant myself, brother. I can't reach that.
Yeah.
But basically, nonchalant, man, I feel like, you know where it stems from? I feel like it stems from guys actually show their personality and they're like, people, a guy or a girl or a group of people just said, yo, this guy's a weirdo, man. What do you think? Imagine you just say a joke a little bit out of the box. So people just say, this guy's a weirdo. Who's this? Or a girl might just be like, yuck. You know what I mean? And the guy just did this. He just wanted this turned off. I'm no longer ever going to show weakness. You know what I mean? So I think that's where the villain story or villain origin comes from for nonchalant people. But I think it's a balance. You shouldn't be too chalant. Is that a word?
Yeah.
You shouldn't be too chalant because people are just going to be like, you know, you should have a balance.
Yeah, absolutely. And about approaching people, what would you...
Let's just say
I'll give you a scenario, okay?
Yeah.
A guy comes into the coffee shop. He sees a girl he wants to holla at. You know what I mean? Beautiful sister. You know what I mean? How does he go about having a conversation with
In that scenario, as a black man, you should leave the black woman and the women to be at peace because they didn't come there to be approached. They came there to enjoy their food.
I'm sorry, sisters.
But on a real world, let's say out in the street,
Yeah.
for example, right? I think, like, you know, on a very respectful tip, you just ask them, you know what I mean? How you doing? I hope everything is good with you. Can I get your information, or even what's your family's information?
Again, to preface all of this stuff, you know what I mean?
For marriage,
This is for marriage.
Yeah,
Yes.
Of course, you say, I would like to get to know you for marriage. You seem like a very nice person.
Yeah.
You know, what's your contact information? What's your dad's number? Even add that to the list.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The wali.
The wali, man.
The wali.
You must get the wali involved, man.
No, but
the Muslims
the
must get the wali
Muslims. Yo, makalati, man. The Muslims, they're not feeling us right now.
Nah.
After that snippet,
Nah,
the
nah,
Muslims,
nah.
they're not feeling us, man.
They
But yeah.
you get what I'm trying to say?
Yes, I agree.
So I think simplicity is the key. I don't think you should do like all these like pickup lines.
Bro.
I think everybody's overthinking it.
Man to man. Imagine another man's watching this, you know what I mean? And you need advice. I would just say, like, what is the worst that could happen when you go and talk to a girl? That aspect of fear of rejection is something that people eventually come to, like, face. They face their fear.
The worst that can happen is they just say, yuck.
Bro, next one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Brother, it's always this mentality of this person's losing out. I know what I bring to the table.
Brother,
I am the table. How about that?
You're right here, huh? Oh, they can't
That's
see it.
me right there. I'm the table. You
You're
know what I mean?
IKEA walking, huh?
Come on, bro.
Yo,
And I'm not even IKEA.
Huh.
You know what I mean?
You're Home Depot?
I'm home. No, that's
That's
that's lower. IKEA is probably, you know what I mean, a little better.
Cubics. What is it?
I don't know,
Leon's.
man, but whatever it is.
Yo, but
Okay,
listen.
I'm a high
High-level table.
high level table.
Okay, but yo, you know what's interesting? Yeah, like, you know what they say? They say, brother, you have to think about it like this. First of all, you have to work on yourself. Guy or girl, human, pet, animal. You have to be the best person you can be. But at the same time, you have to see the value that you have in of itself and you bring. You know what I mean? For example, the Mona Lisa. If you have it in the Louvre, if you have it beside
Louvre?
the Louvre is the museum that's in. So if you have it beside a trash can, a homeless guy's gonna come and say, "Oh, this is a piece of trash." But if you put it into the art museum where people can see the value, they're saying this is a world-class art piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what does that say? You have value, but you just have to be put in the right situations. Go to somewhere that say they're waiting for you like this. Yusuf's coming home. The dad is saying, "Yo, Yusuf's coming home. Let's get this house clean and proper for this guy."
Mm-hmm.
And sit down with my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
There's a family like that exists. And there's a family that's like, Sabid.
Sabid.
This Bakhti guy or there's a family that hates, for example, there's a family that exists that hates you. And that hates, for example, your tribe or your color of your skin.
I didn't do anything
or
wrong.
like, you know, your curls.
Color's
I don't know.
beautiful.
And they're going to be like,
Curls.
oh, man.
For the girls.
This guy's coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm saying the water bottle, brother. Sometimes you buy $1. When you're at the airport, it's 7 beans. Yeah. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Go where your 7 beans, man.
Wow. That's a great point. And you talked about approaching. What was the last one?
And then this is characteristics y'all find attractive. That's a personal question.
Do you feel comfortable answering it?
I'll say one.
Okay, go.
Someone who's been through some bad times.
Why would you say that?
Because it shows resilience.
Okay.
You get what I mean?
Explain more.
So, for example, like someone who said, yo, the XYZ happened to me, and this is how I overcome it. That's very attractive.
Okay.
In a sense where it shows that that person can go through the ups and downs of life and takes it with stride. Because some people, they never really got tested like that. Alhamdulillah, even for me, like I obviously there's some people who got tested like heavily or like bad life situation. You know what I mean? But like someone who life hit them hard, for example, like a family death and a bad time and a school, all this, that, and they still like went on and thrived by that and didn't get like put into a hole. That's pretty attractive.
I would say, now that I took some time to think about it, I would say I would want someone who's empathetic. You know, a lot of times we talk about like emotions and stuff like that, but I feel like someone who has empathy, you know what I mean, is different from someone who's kind, someone who's caring. Like that word caring, a lot of people associate it with being empathetic. But empathy is basically like being able to feel, you know what I mean, how another person, putting yourself into other person's shoes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like with a lot of relationships nowadays, I think maybe it's just because of the time that we live in, a lot of people innately are just very selfish. You know what I mean? They worry about what they think. You know, maybe it's stemming from everybody's just very emotional nowadays. You know what I mean? No, and I'm not saying girl.
Individualistic society.
Yes, absolutely.
Individualistic society.
I'm not saying that women are emotional. I'm just saying people in general, men included. You know what I mean? I know a lot of guys who are very emotional. You know what I mean? But I'd say someone who's empathetic, because if they're able to understand, maybe in situations where I do something wrong, being able to look and understand how I felt in that moment is something that we don't see a lot nowadays. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a very good point.
So being able to connect with someone through and be able to put themselves into my shoes, whether it would be in tough situations or even in good situations. But
that's a very good point, man. That's a very good point, man. But I feel like this is a good place to wrap up. You know what I mean? These were amazing questions, guys. You know, thank you very much for taking the time to ask these questions. Thank you, Yusuf, for just being here.
Hey,
thank
man.
you to everybody watching. You know what I mean? And 2.5 Mollies. Subscribe, like, comment now.
Listen, man, make sure you guys also check out the Instagram and the TikTok. You know what I mean? We put out a lot of different updates. For example, the vlog, which is probably out by now, so make sure you guys go check that out. And yeah, any updates that you guys need to see are all on the Instagram, so make sure that you guys tune in and follow that page. It's 2.5 Mollies. We're happy to see you this week, and hopefully glad to see you.
Hopefully we'll see you in person.
Hopefully.
For a live show, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.